In the previous segment, we talked about the importance of Henry Chadwick to sabermetrics and described what's shown here, which is his score sheet, as published in Chadwick's Baseball Manual in 1874. Now, Chadwick published his score sheet because he wanted players and fans and coaches to be able to record the game well, to record the events of the game, to recreate them for other people to read, eventually leading to the box score. Now, this is the score sheet as recorded, as we talked about last time. But eventually, you reduce these numbers into the box score, as shown here. Now, Chadwick describes this as what you would publish in the paper. You would take the information, going back to the score sheet, you would take, for example, all the base hits recorded by all the batsmen that are recorded in this column, and transfer them to the box score, which will be published in the papers. You take information about all the defensive plays also made by the players and transfer that to the box score. So what you have here is the box score, where again you list the players on each ball club, and you record the runs that they each had, the hits they each got, their putouts, assists, and E for errors or muffs. And in the line score down here, you would describe each of the runs in each of the 9 innings by each of the clubs. And of course, record the umpire time of the game and different other details like we'd see in a modern box score. And I think it's fair to call him the inventor of what became the modern box score. But he wasn't the inventor of the original box score. Now let's show you an example of one of Chadwick's box scores. This is from a game in 1876 between the Boston Red Stockings and the Philadelphia Athletic. And as before, what's listed here are each of the players and their positions. Now, there's a typo here on the Boston lineup. Schaefer that season always played third base, so this must be just a typo in the newspaper. From the previous slide, we saw what Chadwick always recommended to put in the box score in the newspapers to describe and recreate the game. Runs, hits, putouts, assists, and errors for each of the team, and then times to the plate, times at bat. What we have here is, again, the line score, and the Red Stockings won 19 to 11 that day against the Philadelphia Athletic. A couple interesting things about this box score, very interesting players. One is George Wright. George Wright here batted leadoff for the Red Stockings and played shortstop. Member of the Hall of Fame, Baseball Hall of Fame, because he was such a good player. But he also designed the first public golf course in the United States in Boston and became a golf shop proprietor for many years following his career as a baseball player. Another Hall of Famer on this team was O'Rourke, another great batsman and good first baseman. So let's go back to the beginning and recall what I have as a working definition of sabermetrics. If sabermetrics is the science of baseball, and science is all about observation, experimentation, objective knowledge acquisition, then what we have here is Henry Chadwick, a detailed observationist of the game of baseball. Over a couple decades, he watches very carefully and starts recording lots of different events that are going on the field and presenting them in a format that readers of newspapers can recreate the game by just looking at this box score. Remember what Chadwick said in 1856? He watched the game with a deeper interest. And he was struck by the idea that this could become the American game. So he dedicated his life to this notion of advancing this game and advancing the knowledge of this game and advancing the record of this game. The great John Thorne has said this about Henry Chadwick. In the long romance of baseball and numbers, no figure was more important than that of Henry Chadwick. And it is true, baseball does have a romance with numbers. And numbers love the game of baseball. I believe that without Henry Chadwick, the game of baseball today would be very different. There may not be any sabermetrics at all without his efforts. He truly was the first sabermetrician, the first analyst, the first careful scientific observer of the game. And that's why we cover Henry Chadwick right away at the beginning of Sabermetrics 101. We need to have a greater appreciation of the contributions of key figures, especially ones that aren't as well known as modern-day sabermetricians.